LeBron James-led team, 66%. 2 dunks, 3 attempts.
But that's one thing these kids are going to learn with help side defense is EB did not need to be guarding him that closely when the ball's on the opposite side of the floor.
The putback is good for the West team by Leon Poe.
Leon Poe had an ACL injury last year about this time, still battling back from it, but a marvelous athlete and just a monster rebounder. It's going to fit in very nicely for Ben Braun's team at Cal.
Leon the Show Poe. That's his nickname.
Here's King James, and he draws the foul. And Jay, in the 2 games that you and I did involving LeBron James this year at St. Vincent St. Mary, early on in the game he was settling for 3-pointers. Then he started going to the rim. It looks like he's made up his mind early tonight to get inside and try to dominate.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think that he did in those 2 games. And in other games this season, he tried to establish his game from the perimeter first. And opposing coaches would often say when he goes inside to post is when they really felt they were in trouble. And with his physical stature and how imposing he is physically, really inside is where he belongs at the start.
Guys, is it sacrilege to point out that maybe he's overrated at this point? I mean, he's compared to the greatest of all time. Is it a fair question to ask?
I think it is. And I said at the beginning when I saw him, I think his jump shot needs a fair amount of work. It needs to be refined, but I do think he's going to become a much better jump shooter. But just at this stage of his development, I think he is better than anybody I've seen, certainly in the last 20 years. And if you want to go back to Lou Alcindor, I think he would find him in second place. But I think he's an outstanding prospect. But we can't project him too far out in the future. There's too much time left.
Leon Poe with his second basket for the West as they get back within 2. The reason we mentioned James wearing 32 instead of 23 is he did wear 23 in high school and presumably will wear it at the next level as well, but is unable to wear it here tonight. There's Paul taking it to the rack. Offensive rebound by James Lang out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Did I see a set play in an All-Star game?
Frightening.
Pull up for 3, a little bit strong for Shannon Brown. And the rebound to Lang, and once the big fella gets it, it is over.
And Shannon Brown's going to be an outstanding player. Great explosive ability.
Villanueva almost lost the handle, but composed enough to finish off the glass.
Villanueva was a subject of a heated recruiting battle. He wound up committing to Illinois, although he has not yet signed. And he is one of those that Tim talked about that could make the jump from high school straight to the NBA. That is still in the forefront of his mind.
Yeah, one of his good buddies. Of the Clippers, same neighborhood.
James to Villanueva, and if you have not seen LeBron James, he's almost as spectacular a passer, Jay, as he is a dunker.
That's what sets him apart. He's an extraordinary passer that sees the floor, and he's got a flair for it. He makes the right play. He doesn't pass to be flashy, and there you see Shannon Brown with the strength that he's got. And he's really going to take Tom Izzo, along with Brandon Cotton, Tom Izzo back to really pressure defense and scoring off of their defense, generating offense. Look at that pass. The no look to Villanueva, high above the crowd. The transition defense, we won't talk about it.
Now James with a little bit of extra flair in his game. He'll add the no look. We've seen him with the between the legs pass on the fast break, the behind the back bounce pass to a teammate for a dunk in a league game. He likes to put a little extra mustard on it. And the EB guarding him. We'll try to give you as much info as we can all night too about where some of these guys are heading. There's Villanueva again from James, who picks up another assist, and he sees a little bit of a part of the crowd up on the second deck, maybe folks from Akron, all wearing looks like St. Vincent St. Mary t-shirts, and he points up to them on his way back down the floor, and now he's got a steal. Unselfishly gives it up, and Michael Jones will finish with a jam.
That's 3 assists now for James, and I thought before the game he would get 10. He might get 10 by halftime.
And the dunk fest is one-sided so far. Perkins underneath finishes strong.
Interesting battle inside with Lang and Perkins, 2 big guys that really do want to go to the NBA. You know, Perkins is committed to Memphis. Lang is not committed, but both those guys want to show they can get up and down.
Well, Perkins runs the floor pretty well. He's got terrific footwork, but maybe not the explosiveness he needs to make the jump to the NBA as Aaron Brooks scores. And Brooks is going to Oregon next season, a really quick point guard that can get up and pressure the ball. He can really get up under you.
We've got about 16 different schools represented amongst the players here in tonight's game. Again, you don't know if all the commitments will come through because some of them may forego their college commitment and jump straight to the NBA. But Brooks, a guy 6 feet at best, who is headed to the Pac-10, as Jay mentioned, up to Eugene.
And Chris Paul now headed to the free throw line, who is headed to Wake Forest. And I've been really impressed when I've watched him play of his leadership skills. He's an excellent ball handler and passer, but he's a guy that can direct traffic out there and put people into the right spots, and that's going to serve him well when he gets to Wake Forest.
1 of 2 for Paul, and not disappointed early in the first 4.5 minutes by what the East team has brought to the game, especially LeBron James, who has been a finisher on a feed from Paul and has also been setting up his teammate Villanueva for an equally spectacular play. A couple of spectacular passes from LeBron James, getting easy dunks here tonight.
And that's one of the reasons people like to play with LeBron, because he gives the ball up, and he does it because it's the right play. The great finish by Villanueva, and then drawing 3 defenders and dishing it off. James has an extraordinary ability to pass the ball.
And as you saw a little bit earlier, he averaged 11 assists per game with St. Vincent St. Mary, the Ohio State champions and the mythical national champions this year, ranked #1 at the end of the season by USA Today. Lots of subs for the West. This is Chris Humphries, who's headed to Duke, number 34, who just turned it over. And it's the East quickly down the floor, and James led Lang a little bit too far. We're going to show you periodically during the game tonight the leading scores and some of the factual information about all 24 players in this game. We do have 2 injured players, by the way. We'll tell you about them. We expect to see 22 players in total tonight as Von Wafer comes into the game and misses a long jumper. And here's James, likes to handle. It's going to be a goaltend. Count the basket for James.
Really impressed with the fundamentals. You notice that he's like a running back popping through the hole. He stays really low when he dribbles, and that's one of the reasons he is so good in transition.
As we mentioned off the top of the show, Tim McCormick, who's with us tonight, was a McDonald's All-American in 1980. Jay Billis off on the bubble and somehow left out in 1982.
A political thing.
But Tim, you played in this game. Let's let LeBron do his stuff. Hang on. Oh, yes. Good for him.
It was a beautiful play, but we still can't help but be a little bit disappointed.
Does that remind you of some of the plays you guys ran in 1980 in this game? Well, how has it changed since then?
You know, Dan, in 1980, there were no boys or no girls in the game. It was boys only, and it was definitely no national TV. But the interesting thing is I had never met or played against anybody from either team. Shannon Brown's from Chicago going to Michigan State. He said he has already played against each of these players, either in summer camps or AAU ball.
Yeah, these guys play national schedules, so they play all these guys year round. And LeBron James taking it the other way, putting it off the board for Charlie Villanueva. I think Villanueva's doing the right thing by sticking as close to James as he can. Just picking up those leftovers is going to perhaps make him the MVP of this game, or at least the leading scorer.
James with 6 points and 5 assists already. As he goes to the bench, wholesale changes, as we like to say, for the East team, as 5 new players come into the game. We'll try to set the lineups for you as often as we can. That's an easy guy to follow. There is Chris Humphries, as mentioned, going to Duke. He was the player of the year in the state of Minnesota this year, and we just saw a reason why.
Well, Humphries, as Tim McCormick mentioned at the top of our program, is one of the 7 still considering a jump to the NBA. I think he will wind up in college, but he is leaving that option open.
Stolen away now by Von Wafer. Numbers for the West, and Wafer throws it beyond the reach of Brandon Cotton out of bounds. Wafer is 6'6" forward who's heading to Florida State.
Nobody blocks out Chris Humphries, who's an outstanding athlete. He's got a great build, very strong, and he's also got good skills. He's the type of guy that can play inside for you or can step out on the perimeter and hit a shot.
Look at the smallest player on the floor, Andrew Lavender, who's got a cheering section here as well. He's from nearby Columbus, and he looks to step in as the point guard next year for Kelvin Sampson down in Oklahoma.
And only 2 freshmen have ever started for Kelvin Sampson. One was Prince Fowler when he first got to Oklahoma. The second was Kevin Bookout, who is still a freshman starter, and next year Lavender I expect to be the 3rd.
Three-pointer a little bit long for Jackie Butler. Offensive rebound, Ivan Harris, no. And the rebound to Brian Butch, number 42. Keep an eye on him. One of the most highly thought of players ever coming out of the state of Wisconsin. Humphries with a miss, and numbers for the East. Lavender leads a 4-on-1 And the layup at the other end for Mustafa Shakur.
Mustafa Shakur from Philadelphia. He is headed to Arizona. An outstanding point guard. He has the ability to break you down off the dribble. Pretty good defensively and a good leader.
Second three-pointer of the game already for J.R. Giddens out of Oklahoma City, but he grew up a Kansas fan, and he'll be a Jayhawk next year. Lavender with the answer for three at the other end. We have a preview maybe of a Big 12 battle to come between the Sooners and the Jayhawks here with these two players.
But Giddens is a really athletic kid. He has a 6'10" high jump to really get off the floor, about a 44-inch vertical leap.
There are some ridiculous sounding athletic achievements that some of these players have piled up. There's Lavender. He is not afraid to go in with the big guys, is he?
Yeah, he does have sort of a Spud Webb, Muggsy Bogues quality to him, and the thing you like about Lavender, he's unafraid and he consistently makes the right play.
Listed at 5'7". What do you think?
Well, 5'7" might be even a little much,
yeah.
But you know, he's so quick with the ball and quick with his release that he can get a floater up over a bigger man and get it to go down.
The East by 12 thanks to some early dunks and great passes from LeBron James, who will chat with Tim McCormick when we come back.
East by 12, and I'm here with LeBron James in a dynamic start. You look like you're having a lot of fun out there, but I thought you'd try to dunk everything. You're trying to get your teammates involved. Take me through your mindset.
Well, you know, when your teammates get into it, we have a lot more fun out there because they feel like if the best player on the floor can get us the ball, you know, we all can have some fun and try to not be selfish. We're just trying to play a team game, and, you know, thankfully we're up by 12 right now.
Now, a big week for you. You win the state title. You've got a test on Monday. You come here Tuesday and win the Wooden Award. What does the McDonald's All-American game mean to you, especially because it's in your city?
You know, it means a lot to me. You know, besides, you know, doing all the hard stuff, you know, practicing stuff, you know, it's a great achievement for me and for the Akron, the city of Akron. And I feel like, you know, anytime you can give back to children like we did at the Ronald McDonald House and at the Children's Hospital, I think it was great for all of us, and it's a great experience.
LeBron, who's impressed you this week with their play? Do you have a couple favorite players?
You know, I think everybody. You know, everybody was here invited because of reason, you know, because of player, they on the court and off the court. I think everybody has impressed me this year.
A lot of people try to compare you and put labels on who you are. I see Magic Johnson a lot in your game and the way you approach things. Can you talk to me about how you've become so unselfish on the court and why passing is so important?
You know, I think it's just a guy doing time to just be unselfish. And, you know, the best things come to the ones who wait and sit there and relax. You know, I think getting your teammates to feel comfortable with you is the best thing for me, and I tried that in the early going. It's working.
LeBron, there's the rim right there. I want you to go get it real soon, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, back to you guys.
All right, Tim, thanks very much. And you know, at some point tonight, he's going to have everybody in this building on their feet with a spectacular play as Aaron Brooks knocks down a three. Leon Poe last trip down with a dunk as the West gets back within 7 of it. Now, LeBron James, Jay, looks like he has come out very relaxed, but also focused on setting himself apart from these other great players. I think as much as he knows all these guys and he's impressed by them, he wants to stand out a little bit here tonight as well.
Well, there's no question he's got a competitive spirit. He knows he's the best player and wants to be the best player. I think that
in '96, a little bit of research turned up that Shaheen Holloway, ex of the Seton Hall Pirates, was the MVP of the 1996 McDonald's All-American game.
that is an impressive nugget, as Buzz Peterson being the player of the year in North Carolina over Michael Jordan his senior year.
Look at the triple team on LeBron James here, so he will give it up. And the baseline jumper will drop for Travis Outlaw. That is assist number 6 for LeBron James.
Wow, and another endangered species in this game, a mid-range jump shot.
And one of the few points the East has scored that has not come off a layup or dunk.
Von Wafer, tough shot, it won't go down. Loose ball comes to the East again. James wants the lob, and the crowd wanted James to get the lob. Instead, it's Villanueva who gets fouled. Midway through the first half, and we are playing 2 20-minute halves, even though this is a high school game. It's the McDonald's All-American Boys High School game at Gund Arena in Cleveland. Along with Jay Billis and Tim McCormick, I'm Dan Schulman. We are here to watch LeBron James and Charlie Villanueva and 20 other players here in Cleveland. Again, not far from Akron, so this is a very pro LeBron James crowd right here.
You know, right now, Charlie Villanueva at the line, a guy who is very skilled and has the ability to play at the next level, but I think some people have questioned his intensity, and Tim, in coming from high school to college, there's a big jump in intensity. What's the difference between, college and the pros? Because some of these kids have no idea how difficult that jump is going to be.
Up and down, they do what's natural. They do what's natural. That's the key thing. Wow. Von Wafer. They can do this stuff at the NBA level. It's the off-the-court stuff that is so difficult. Dealing with money, which doesn't sound that hard, but it really is. All the pressure along the baseline. And a good idea next time, just don't even go for it. You're risking your fingers.
Von Wafer was the runner-up to LeBron James in the dunk competition a couple of days ago that all the McDonald's All-Americans took part in. You can see some pretty good evidence of why right there. James's 3 no, and the rebound to the West. Wafer, originally from Louisiana. He is headed to Florida State collegiately, and good hustle by Wafer on the defensive end as James was trying to set up another teammate for a dunk.
Well, Wafer saw that coming, and Wafer's a kid who really exploded over the summer at an AAU event. He went from being basically an unknown to one of the top 20 players in the country, and he was the focus of an intense recruiting battle at Florida State. Ultimately wound up winning, so Leonard Hamilton will have an outstanding guard in his backcourt. He's also gone to a number of different high schools.
Lang with a miss, Lang with a rebound, Lang again. He has about 80 pounds on Brian Butch, who is trying to guard him right now. Humphries beats the D down at the other end, but has it knocked out of bounds.
James Lang doesn't create space. He is space. It is so hard to get around him and get an angle to try to make a play when he is near the basket. Butch did a nice job, but it was just too much strength for him, too much bulk.
Lang, 305 pounds, was close to 400 at one point.
Boy, give Humphrey some credit for really running back to stop that play.
Oh, Charlie Villanueva, who's been piling up the dunks tonight, misses one. So Lang says, here, big fella, try again. And look at how upset Villanueva is that he missed that one. From sea to shining sea, the Goodyear blimps have been flying in America since 1925. Today, the Spirit of Goodyear, based in Akron, Ohio, is floating nearby, providing us with an aerial view of downtown Cleveland. Glad they're along with us here tonight. Now, Villanueva at the line, as mentioned, is committed to Illinois, but at no certainty to go there. Could head to the pros. Time will tell. Let's get more on tonight's game as we head to Tim McCormick.
Thanks, Dan. Ken Barron from Ronald McDonald House Charities. Thanks for all of your good work. You must be very proud of the turnout here in Cleveland.
Well, Tim, it's a tremendous tribute to the owner-operators of McDonald's that have really put on a great show tonight. And all the proceeds from tonight's event and all the events surrounding us are going to Ronald McDonald House Charities of Northeast Ohio to help kids live a better life in our Ronald McDonald houses, our Ronald McDonald Caremobile, and all of our programs around the world that go to help children.
Ken, before we get back to the action real quick, how many Ronald McDonald houses are there?
Well, there are 226 Ronald McDonald houses around the world, and about 60 family rooms that are similar, but are smaller, and they're in hospitals and in smaller communities. So we're providing about 5,000 families a place to stay every single night while their kids are being treated in the hospital.
Ken, thanks for all the good stuff you do. Back to you guys at the table.
All right, Tim, thank you. LeBron James, a one-of-a-kind move on that scoop down at this end. At the other end, you saw Von Wafer with a 3 as Michael Jones takes a bump, and he will go to the line. And James now with 8 points in tonight's game. The high score is Charlie Villanueva with 10, but he's got James to thank for that.
Yeah, James has created that offense for Villanueva. And Mike Jones has had a really nice start to this game. I like his aggressiveness. He's a player that many have likened to sort of a poor man's Ezra Williams, the outstanding senior from Georgia. He can shoot the ball. He can really attack the basket off the dribble. And I think he's got the ability to be an outstanding defender. And Gary Williams will demand that from him when he gets to College Park.
Villanueva out. You saw Brandon Bass, number 30, checking into the game for the East. He's from Baton Rouge, 6'8", 245, and he will go to LSU come this fall. I think we have seen just about every one of the healthy players. 2 of the guys who are injured tonight for the East, Luol Deng, who is headed to Duke, or who has committed to Duke for the fall, and Olu Famatimi for the West, who has signed with Arkansas. Famatimi coming back from a torn ACL, and Deng has an injured foot.
Deng was rated the 2nd best player in America behind LeBron James.
And Connecticut fans would remember his older brother Ajo Deng, who has since transferred on Fairfield. Cotton with the lob. Oh, and it's over the head of Wafer. And now the East. Look at the big guy. Cherry picking down at the other end. Lang gets up and bangs it down.
That was testament to the strength of those stanchions. When James Lang hangs around, he can bring that thing down. That's a lot of weight.
We've got a timeout on the floor. We will take you to the break with this earth-shattering, rim-rattling slam by James Lang. Former McDonald's All-American DeJuan Wagner. Jay Billis tells us that's rapper Jay-Z also. Your son's a big Jay-Z fan, you were telling me before the game.
Jay-Z's fat, and I mean PH fat.
Well, DeJuan Wagner, one of the many talented players to have played in this game over the years, and LeBron James is adding his legacy here tonight, and it has been, as Tim McCormick expected, a dunk fest tonight. Von Wafer the latest to get into the act. Kind of a one-sided score favoring the East. The defense has been off and on as we expected. It is an all-star game, and everybody's trying to show off their stuff. And again, catch the scroll there at the bottom of the screen. All the players in tonight's game, where they are heading if they have indeed committed to a college, and what they have accomplished so far here tonight. Now look at the 24 players in this game and what conference they have committed to, and 22 of the 24 have either signed or verbally committed with a college. The ACC and the Big Ten getting the most commitments right now. But again, as Jay and Tim have mentioned, some of that is subject to change. Tim, you feel that a good number of these guys might head to the NBA next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. By the way, we're all tied up in the ACC Big Ten Challenge at 17. You know, Chris Humphrey's a perfect example. He's going to Duke. Would be wise to go there and develop his game, but I wonder if some of these players are concerned about possible changes in the collective bargain agreement that would lower the age limit of guys entering the NBA.
You know, I think that might be part of it if it goes to 20 years old, but you know, I think really it's part of the culture that when so many kids talk about going, I think the culture dictates that if you don't consider the NBA, maybe you're just not good enough, and I think it's a sad state of affairs, but the way it is.
James Gamble did miss, otherwise he was home free for a dunk. Shannon Brown with a layup at the other end, and James gets his dunk anyway.
An all-state football player in Ohio, and really one of the finest football players in the state. LeBron James looking like a pretty good wide receiver there.
Broke a finger, right, though, playing football in his junior year. There he is on the break, behind the back, bounce pass to Jackie Butler, but a block by Andy Eby. Perkins at the other end finds Cotton, and Cotton is fouled.
Pretty nice pass there by Kendrick Perkins for a big guy running the floor. And LeBron James, that's the extraordinary passing ability that he has. He can put the ball behind his back and, you know, throws it right in stride. And just the great block by Andy Eby, who is long, athletic, has the ability to get off his feet, and is going to be an extraordinary player.
You know, the one guy I worry about, though, is at 93 years old, John Wooden sitting on the side. I don't think that's good for his heart to see that pass from LeBron.
No, Coach Wooden, fundamentals was what he preached in team play, and still does not like the dunk. He would prefer that we went back to the old days and got rid of it because it was more of an individual play in his eyes.
You know, John Wooden was telling me 2 years ago that he was at a UCLA game and there was a 360 dunk, and I said, Coach, what would you do if one of your players in your day tried the 360 dunk? And he said, without question, by the time the guy hit the floor, there would be a substitute at the score table.
Now let's get a look at yet another James feed, and again, left hand on the move, no look. He likes to try it all.
A good move, a nice read to get away from Eby, who was guarding him, and he can pass the ball with either hand. That's really what, in my mind, separates him from a guy like Kobe Bryant at this same age. Not just the fact that he's far more physically imposing than Bryant was, but his ability to pass the ball. That is just the thing that sets him apart in my mind.
Well, what about Grant Hill? You're familiar with his game at that stage. What's the difference there?
I don't think Grant was near as advanced from a skill level and also from a physical standpoint. It took Grant a couple of years not only to get up to speed physically, but also where he felt like he was aggressive enough. He's the type of guy that deferred to some of the older players on his team, and obviously we saw what became of Grant, an outstanding player as he became older. Some guys mature at different rates, and LeBron James has matured at a very rapid rate. If he can keep it going, he can be one of the best players in the NBA.
Eby got a piece of that shot on the drive by James, and here's Brooks with a pull-up at the other end. Well, the guy followed a shot but knocked it out of bounds. The Players' Championship, the name says it all. The world's best players, the game's strongest field. Since its inception in 1974, the Players' Championship has set itself apart with a roster of enduring champs and a lifetime of unforgettable shots. ESPN with 6 hours of coverage Thursday and Friday, starting at noon Eastern. Brooks on the feed from Eby, and he's starting to become much more of a force in this game.
Well, Eby said he wanted to be the MVP of this event, that was his goal coming in. And I knew that he was long from having seen him before, but he looks even longer now than he did last summer. This young man has extraordinary length of his arms and great timing.
Well, the buzz around the scrimmage yesterday was that Eby did a tremendous job of being able to slow down LeBron.
Well, with that length and his athleticism, if he stays in front, he can make life very difficult. And that finish, extraordinary with the hesitation move with the basketball.
And Andy Eby with 2 more for the West team as they try to get back into it. At halftime, we're going to show you the McDonald's Boys Player of the Year. Take one guess. Also, a visit, as LeBron James told Tim McCormick a little bit earlier, one of the best things about this game, a visit to the Ronald McDonald House that all the players went through, visiting some of the kids, and also highlights from what has been a dunk-filled first half. The Slam Fest on Monday here in Cleveland. And LeBron James, of course, guys, the prohibitive favorite.
If prohibitive means you put your head by the rim, that's him.
He defeated Von Wafer. Wafer finished second. Shannon Brown of Michigan State, by all accounts, had the single most spectacular dunk. That was in the first round, but in the final round, he missed a dunk outright, so that's why LeBron James was able to win rather easily.
Well, Shannon Brown and Brandon Cotton are going to be outstanding additions to Michigan State's squad next year. A new level of athleticism in the backcourt will allow Tom Izzo to up-tempo the game back to the level that he likes, where they can score off of their defense and really get their break going.
By the way, we have not seen one player that we did expect to see. We knew we weren't going to see Luol Deng or Olu Famatimi, but we have also not seen David Padgett for the West team. 6'11" center out of Reno, who is headed to Kansas. So 21 of the 24 players have been in the game so far. There's one of the biggest of them all, Kendrick Perkins.
Perkins committed to Memphis. He's got very good footwork. He is another one of those young men that is considering the NBA. I think he needs to go to college. He's not ready yet, but he's got outstanding footwork. I've been really impressed with his ability to move his feet.
How about him leading the break here? What do you think of that?
Not quite as impressed with that. His decision-making perhaps suspect.
As he turns it over, Lavender's waiting for help. Finds it. Oh, and right through the hands of Jones.
Not good to make a 3-on-1 break, an advantage for the other team.
No. And down at the other end, Jackie Butler is forced to foul Andy Eby.
And that's one of the things with young players. You expect a younger player to make some mistakes and trying to do too much, but you would like to see them make the easy play and make the right play and make good decisions, and that's something they will learn as they go along. But you don't want them to approach this as too much of a show.
In addition to everything else that happened on that play, when the big guy, Kendrick Perkins, was leading his team up the floor, when he was stripped of the ball, it appears he has suffered a shoulder injury of some kind.
Certainly hope that is not serious, and that's one of the reasons you want the players to play as hard as they can and as straight up as possible, simply because you don't want somebody getting hurt trying to do too much.
So Perkins getting some attention on the bench. The West is back within 9. LeBron James on the bench for the final seconds of the first half here at the Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. 26th annual McDonald's Boys High School All-American game.
A set play, a double high pick.
And Lavender, who had a terrific first half, cannot knock down the 3, and we'll go to halftime with the hometown team, the East team, led by LeBron James, leading the West 60-51. James credited with 10 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds in the first half. Let's go to Tim McCormick, the recipient of many of those LeBron James feats. Charlie Villanueva standing by. Tim?
Yeah, Charlie, you seem to enjoy the speed game. Talk about LeBron. I mean, he was hooking you up out there.
Definitely. One thing I learned about LeBron is if you run the floor, he's going to feed you the ball. So that's what I'm trying to do out here right now.
Yeah. Talk about the speed of this game. You know, this is a showcase. You guys are having fun. Is this everything that you could dream of, being a McDonald's All-American and playing in a game like this?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I dream to be a McDonald's All-American all my life. And once I got the chance, I'm going to just seize the opportunity, so it feels good to be here.
All right, Charlie's going to Illinois. He's halfway home in this game. Back to you guys over.
I am LeBron James.
LeBron, Bron, or even King James. Whatever you call the McDonald Boys Player of the Year, call him a winner.
I think more than anything, what he brings is just a desire to win and a competitiveness that I love.
The man who has been LeBron's mentor for the past 4 years remembers the first time he saw a very young number 23.
He was this 9-year-old who was about 4 inches taller than everyone, who played point guard on a team. He couldn't dribble very well, but they made him point guard, and he used to back people down the court.
Once he got to St. Vincent St. Mary High School, LeBron evolved into not just an all-star player, but a team leader as well.
I came into a team that already had a leader. As the years grew on, you know, I have been seeing that Coach Drew has let me say more and more. And now the team looks at me and they say, you are our leader.
And that leadership continues off the court as well, where LeBron carries a 3.5 grade point average.
I think the way he goes at everything, from the way, you know, he competes it with his schoolwork, to how he plays on the basketball court, to how he plays a video game against his friends, it's tenacious. He's just always wants to be the best and wants to win.
LeBron's creative talents are not confined solely to the hardwood.
He's an artist. He can draw. He loves to draw, and he's, you know, honestly done a great job designing some of our uniforms, putting things together.
Now his designs are on the McDonald's All-American game.
You know, that McDonald's game it puts another burning desire in my heart. You know, have seen all the great players who've been through this, and, you know, from Darius Miles to, you know, DeJuan Wagner, that's the Cleveland Cavaliers now, and Michael Jordan and other great players who've been through this. You know, it's a great honor to follow in their footsteps.
Artist, student, player of the year all agree that the oversized 9-year-old is on the verge of big things.
I think he's just going to leave a legacy that's much greater than basketball because of his heart.
And his dunking here in the first half. We'll check out James and the other All-Americans and their visit to the Ronald McDonald House when we come back after this. Guys are having fun. LeBron James, we showed you his passes. Here is his shot chart.
Most of his shots coming within the arc. When he stepped out from outside it, has not hit yet, and that's the one area of his game that he does need to improve. But LeBron James, extraordinary ability in taking the ball to the basket.
Dan and Jay, if he had a selfish bone in his body, he would have 20 points with ease right now, because 4 of those 5 assists, he could have easily dunked the ball himself.
Absolutely. And Shannon Brown for the West leading the way. And Brown has got an extraordinary ability to explode to the basket. He's a player that I really believe is going to make a big difference next year in the Big Ten with his ability to change the way Michigan State plays.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jay. And he told me that the guy he follows is Jason Richardson, the former Spartan, who actually came in as a freshman and kind of sat and watched and helped a little bit. And Shannon's very mature. He said he sees the same role for himself next year.
Is that right? I mean, I do think that both he and Brandon Cotton are going to have a nice impact on that team. They might not start, but they'll play enough minutes where they're really going to help change the way they play.
Now we've been tracking where some of these kids are going, and right now it's the Pac-10. The future kids of the Pac-10 who are piling up the points here in tonight's game. Villanueva takes a bump, misses the shot. You saw Shannon Brown's the high scorer with 11. We mentioned David Padgett. He has a strained knee, why he's not in this game. So Padgett, Luol Deng, and Olu Famatimi are the 3 injured players, unfortunately unable to play.
Now that is an outlet pass. LeBron James with the flip outlet. And Charlie Villanueva will never score 12 easier points in his life than he scored tonight.
No, and if we were scoring this like a hockey game, LeBron would get an assist on that play.
That's
the
true.
Great one.
Thought it was the chosen one. That's what he was earlier. There's a 3-pointer for Brown, who's intent on getting that scoring lead back now. He's got 14. James is fouled by Eby. And you know what, guys, give Eby a lot of credit as we take another look at this incredible outlet pass by LeBron James. Andy Eby is not slacking off on defense. He's working as hard as he can to try to keep James in check.
And he's so long. We talked about that earlier. He not only combines the athleticism and a really good skill set with great length. And that length, I think, really bothered James on this last breakaway that he had. He was looking for Eby to see where he was.
Well, you mentioned the length. He can play anywhere from the 2 to the 5 position. He said some days I'm Kobe Bryant, other days I'm KG.
Wouldn't it be nice to wake up and have those options?
Exactly.
Humphreys finishes strong with a left hand.
I think one of the things all of their college coaches are hoping is that they'll apply that athleticism and length on the defensive end as hard as they do the offensive end. And I think that's going to be the biggest adjustment that all these players have to make.
Well, guys, as you look at these 24 players, how does this group rank? How much talent is here compared to other years?
Well, there's a good deal of talent. I don't know that you could say this is the best year as opposed to a couple of years ago, but I think you'll have a number of different players that are going to be impact players next year in college. But kids mature at different rates, especially when you're talking about 18, 19-year-old kids. And there's no one formula that you can say, well, this kid's talented, therefore he will be an impact player next year on the college level. It doesn't work that way.
And the Eby at the other end. James misses a 3 off the fingertips of Lang. Out of bounds. At the end of this game, we'll be checking in on the league where all these players hope to play one day. It's Shaq and the Lakers taking on Yao and the Rockets next, right here on ESPN.
By the way, Yao Ming was never a McDonald's All-American.
Technicality. Chris Paul on the drive finds the big guy. Not hard to do. The big guy creates some space, and James Lang has 2 more. And let's not forget about James Lang and some of the numbers that he has put up here tonight. Double figures in points, and he had 7 rebounds at halftime.
He can really catch the ball, Ken. He's got really good hands, and if you stand in his way, he will make you take a charge. You won't have a choice in the matter.
Yeah, plus he's got very good feet. Nice story for Lang. He was 370 pounds last year. He dropped 70, wants to go 20 more, and he said that he considers himself a beautiful combination of power and finesse. And he said, if you want to know who I play like, Tim Duncan.
Well, he's got a good drop step and some serviceable low post moves, but he committed to Louisville earlier and went back on that oral commitment. And if he does wind up someday playing for Rick Pitino, I promise you he will be in better condition.
Yes, he will weigh less. There's no doubt about that. A rebound for Villanueva on the missed free throw. Just about a sellout here with the Gund Arena. Just a few empty seats up in the upper deck above each basket. This is a very, very large crowd. That's the guy they've come to see. But James now 0 for 3 from 3-point range.
You know, he floats on that shot, doesn't he, Tim? And he's got the strength to get it up there. He shoots a good ball, but he needs a lot of refining on that jump shot.
I agree, Jay. And at this point in his career, I can't call LeBron a very fundamental player. That's where you get your 2 feet underneath you and go straight up. But you can't argue with the ability to deliver the ball. This is all natural skills. You can't learn to throw the alley-oop. He drives very well, and it's such a special thing. I think he's going to be an outstanding NBA player. And I know this might be a dangerous thing to say around here. It may be better for him not to play for the Cavaliers. Go somewhere far away from a lot of the hometown pressure and develop his game.
And especially if he can play with some older players where he's got some role models that teach him a work ethic. I know he works hard, but he's the type of guy with expectations will be so high. He is really going to have to continue to work and going to have that drive to be great that very few players, frankly, have.
He's a guy, as you guys have spoken about tonight, who seems to defy comparison. He's a little bit of McGrady. He's a little, not that he's as good as these guys, but he's got a little bit of a lot of different people's games. Where do you see him in the NBA? What kind of a position do you envision him playing?
Start at 3. You know, he doesn't have the ability to cover 2s in the NBA, but I think he can become that. And by the way, after making that Cleveland comment that I think it might be better to go elsewhere, you guys have my back as we leave the arena.
No problem.
Right?
Absolutely. You go left, I'll go right. But you know, Andy Eby has bothered him tonight. That length has been an issue for James, and
I don't think he's going to get bothered here. 2 more for LeBron James. And give him 13 in the game.
Yeah, there are some good body types out here, but it is amazing that with all these terrific athletes that LeBron James stands out as being built like a man right now. I mean, these other guys look a bit like boys, but LeBron James is every bit the man in body style.
10-point lead for James in the East. One of his teammates, Chris Paul, got the video camera going a little bit earlier on this week. We'll see some of what he saw here in Cleveland. Back in Cleveland, part of all the festivities here, the McDonald's All-American High School basketball game, the Slam Fest earlier this season. Chris Paul, who's headed to Wake Forest, has enjoyed his experience so much here this week, he decided he had to get some of it down on videotape for posterity's sake.
LeBron James, after St. Vincent St. Mary, national champs once again. I have to keep telling everybody, #1 in the country. It's going to look like this all night. It's going to look like all night. All night long, it's going to be wet. Right there.
I'm going to do it. I'm a sleeper right now. They're sleeping on the hot. I got some stuff there.
Villanueva, the sleeper, maybe he knew something. He's got a 14 tonight. Chris Paul has yet to back it up with the outside shot, but he's done a lot of other things very well. Wafer throws up a prayer. And Villanueva comes up with a block. Brian Butch is there, and he'll go to the line as well to try and complete the three-point play.
You know, Brian Butch is going to be a really nice addition to that Wisconsin team. Bo Ryan did a spectacular job in his first two years in building that program up, making it not only a two-time Big Ten champion, but a national contender. And Butch is the first time since Sam Oakey that there's been a two-time Wisconsin Player of the Year.
8-point lead for the East. They have led throughout, led by Villanueva with 14 and James with 13. James is in the game. That's him with the ball right now. Wafer covering him. Dumps it down to Villanueva. These two have been playing catch all night long. Air ball on the jump hook. He's starting to get after it a little bit more here in the second half as they tie it up. Tim McCormick, the third member of our crew, is standing by with recruiting guru Bob Gibbons. Tim?
Thanks a lot, Dan. Bob, you've been the top talent evaluator for over 30 years. Where does LeBron rank in terms of all the great players that you've seen?
That's a tough question, Tim, but I think he's right there at the top. The game has changed, but what an athlete. I think we're really looking at the next Magic Johnson. I think he'll become a point guard at the next level, and the next level will be the NBA.
Bob, we've thrown all the superlatives around. I'd be interested to hear your scouting report on maybe some of the holes in his game that he may need to work on.
Well, obviously, defense is the hole for all these guys. But LeBron is just such a tremendous athlete. I think tonight we all realize how he's is totally apart from all the other players in the game in terms of athleticism. He could be the next Magic Johnson.
In terms of the other players, there's some great talent. Give us 2 or 3 names that long-term you think can be NBA stars.
Well, I think James Lang has proved with his size and his strength he can be overpowering. Shannon Brown is a tremendous player, doing an excellent job for the West team. There are many in this game. I think that the majority of them should go to college, but from what I hear, LeBron will definitely come out. James Lang will likely come out. And Kendrick Perkins, is he injured, Tim? I don't know why he's not playing in the game right now.
All right, Bob, thanks for your perspective from a guy that definitely knows. Back to you guys at the table.
All right, Jim, thank you. And that's part of the fun of this. It is very subjective, Jay, and different people who have been in the business as long as you have and Tim has and Bob has can all come up with different views about the same kids, and it's fun to watch them develop down the road.
Yeah, it's not an exact science, as Chris Humphries puts it in. Nice pass there. There's no way that you can accurately predict all this stuff, and while Bob Gibbons is not prone to over-exaggeration, you know, obviously LeBron James has got a long way to go to be considered in the same class with Magic Johnson, but I do think it's a fair comparison when you compare those two as 18-year-olds, and that's where my comparisons stop. I think James is an extraordinary talent and an extraordinary prospect, but he's got a long way to go before we're throwing Magic Johnson around with him.
Do you agree with Tim that he'll start off as a 3 and then maybe move back from there? How do you see him?
Yeah, I think he'll be a 3 or 2, and a lot of times where you play has to do with who you can guard. And right now, I think, you know, defensively, he would be more prone to be able to guard a 3-man at the NBA level. But with his size, his strength, and his athleticism as he matures, I think he'll be able to move not only to the 2 spot, but he will be able to play some point.
Brandon Abbas at the line, headed to LSU, as you saw, as he makes 1 out of 2. And LSU, Jay, in your mind, one of the best classes in the country coming in next year. Right?
They really do have a nice class, as does Kansas with J.R. Giddens, who, when you combine him with David Padgett, Omar Wilkes, who is the son of Jamal Wilkes, and Jeremy Case, I mean, Roy Williams has another terrific class coming in, and he will need it, losing Kirk Heinrich and Nick Collison.
Outlaw launches a 3. And the rebound to Butch. The West on the run again. They've gotten right back into this game here in the second half. Line drive jumper not there. Rebound, yes, as Butch bangs it in off the glass. And it's a 2-point game. Believe it or not, we've got a timeout. Ron Hecklinski has seen enough. A 29-12 run for the West to get it back within 2.
Guarding somebody. It's ridiculous. Okay? Match it up, start guarding somebody. All right? Run a 22 for Ivan. You come off the double, then you 2 guys go get Ivan on the double. Let's go now. Come on.
8 of their points have been putbacks. Rebound the ball.
And a set play out of the timeout. A rebound the ball is the message. How many set plays have we seen here tonight, Jay?
We've seen just a few, and a few times they've called off the high pick that they've set. But you could also hear that the coaches would like a little defense to actually get out there and guard somebody.
Let's go back to Tim McCormick standing by with another one of the All-Americans. Tim?
Yeah, I'm here with Steven Spielberg. Oh, wait, no, it's Chris Paul. And you carried your video camera around all week. That must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I took the camera like when we went to lunch, we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, stuff like that. It's sort of like the behind-the-scenes stuff everybody don't get to see.
Chris, you had a tragedy in your family this year. Your grandfather was brutally murdered the day after you committed to Wake Forest. Can you share with us what happened the next game and your tribute?
I went out, scored 61 points. That's how my granddad was when he passed away. So everything I do now is pretty much a tribute to him.
Scored 61 points, tossed the ball to the referee, and walked off the court. Only 5 points away from the state record. It was a great tribute. What's it like playing with LeBron and some of these other guys?
I mean, it's exciting because this is the elite of the elite. So it's really an honor to be put on a pedestal, you know, with the Michael Jordans and all those type people.
And guys, back to you. And Skip Prosser, his coach next year, said that this guy is the truest of point guards. Back to you.
All right, Tim, and we all know at the college level, that's the first thing you've got to have if you're going to compete. And Skip Prosser did a terrific job of that Wake Forest team this year. It looks like he's got another fine coming in. Chris Paul. Brandon Bass. How about the big guy, 6'8", 245, knocking it down the 3. Looks like John Brady's going to be very happy with him next year.
Well, he's got excellent skills, and what I like about Brandon Bass, he is a hard worker. As you can see, he's running the court. Terrific hands with a nice catch, and he got those hands ready as he was coming down court. You could see he ran with the purpose.
You know who has been fun to watch as well as the guy who just fed that pass to Bass, and that is Andrew Lavender, the smallest guy on the floor, probably about 5'5". Reaching foul committed there by Shakur, but Lavender really making things happen whenever he comes into the game.
Yeah, he played with LeBron James on a tour of Italy, and Andrew Lavender headed to Oklahoma with his teammate Brandon Faust. And I think he will add a new dimension to that Oklahoma team. They're a different team this year than they will be next year at the point guard position with their outstanding point guard right now, Quantus White, who is a little more physical player, and Lavender will be much quicker and much more difficult to guard with the ball so low to the ground.
Bass with a good play, and the tie-up sends it back over to the east. You hate to say this about as talented a player as Lavender, but he got a little bit of attention earlier for missing a free throw that would have beaten LeBron James's team during the regular season. The missed free throw sent the game to overtime, and St. Vincent St. Mary came back to win. And James said after the game that he'd been playing against Lavender since the 4th grade, and it's about the only free throw he can ever remember him missing. LeBron James getting a bit of a rest on the bench right now. The West got back within 2 with some inspired play here in the second half, and now the East has it back up to 10 here in Cleveland. Come on back.
Guys like Dominic McGuire, who's an athletic wing out of Lincoln High School in San Diego, and also Indy Ibaka, who's a point guard that has a kind of a side spin jumper, really pushes the ball up the floor.
Saw LeBron James coming back into the game, trying to put his stamp on this All-America game again. The minutes are being split out pretty evenly. It looks like nobody's going to play more than about 24-25 minutes, and all 21 healthy players have gotten some extensive time here tonight.
It can't be an easy job for these coaches. They want to try to make everybody happy, but they also want to win the game. This is their chance, and what a delivery. Mid-air creation by James. But I remember a couple years ago, Cedric Bozeman was playing for the West, and he was very frustrated, he and Josh Childress, because they hardly played the second half.
Well, James and Eby have had a nice battle. You see the steal coming from behind.
He's working hard, but James a little bit too strong, and it's his time right now.
What was that?
Now they're booing a little bit. They wanted something more from King James.
That's what you get when expectations are too high. A two-handed jam and nobody's happy.
I mean, Jay, you could have done that one.
Maybe he wanted Chris Paul to do it.
James now with 17. Cotton trying to get by Lavender and coming over for the block. And he's Villanueva slams it home on the feed from Paul.
Paul just has an extraordinary ability to deliver the ball, and what a finish in running the lane. Charlie Villanueva has been criticized over his career for not always bringing intensity, but when he ran the lane, he took that ball to score and knew that he was going to see some contact, still finish the play, the foul on Eby.
Hey, as long as we're in Cleveland, that's a little reminiscent of Larry Nance, maybe.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's true. Jackie Butler, by the way, was the guy who came up with the block shot at the other end that got the East started on that break. Giddens again, not shy with a jumper here tonight.
Any early thoughts on MVP?
You probably have to start with James if you want to make it out of the building.
Villanueva trying to improve his credentials. Paul keeps it alive. James for 3.
Chris Paul has a great tempo to the way he plays.
Out of bounds. It will stay with the West as we step aside. LeBron James back into the game and instantly getting it done at both ends. Look at Eby working hard, but James just a little bit too strong. He's now the high scorer in the game.
I'm John Wooden, and the greatest high school coach of all time, Morgan Wooten. Coach, I'll start with you. You've been the chairman of the selection committee since day one. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution of this game, and did you ever think it would materialize to be this great?
Well, I think it's exceeded everybody's fondest expectations. The kids are bigger and better. They're stronger. They're faster. There's more great players than ever before.
In terms of LeBron James, you've seen all the great ones come through here. Where does he rank in your eyes?
Nothing better. Not at the high school level. The last high school player I saw this dominant was Lou Alcindor at Power Memorial, who went on to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and one of the greatest players that ever lived. He's the most dominant I've seen since then.
Coach, thanks a lot. And as long as we're talking Lou Alcindor, Coach, you coached Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton and so many great players, and you were able to mold them into great NBA players and great people. If you had a chance to sit down with LeBron James, what advice would you give him?
Well, just remember, it's a team game, and I think he gives it a little too much flair right now. But I'm different on that because I never liked it. Maybe most coaches might go for it, but he has all the physical tools, and I think the concept of the game that he can be one of the great ones.
Coach, as you watch the players, do you enjoy watching the transition or more half quarter, or what are some of your observations on what you enjoy about this game?
Well, all-star games aren't great team games. We know that. Coaches don't have enough time to work with them to get them functioning well as a team. So I enjoy them just to see players from different areas of the country playing against either, sizing them up against each other. Others that are also all-stars, because everyone out here is an all-star. And I look at it that way, and I don't care so much for as much showmanship as we see.
Coach Wooten, Coach Wooten, thank you very much for all you do to inspire all the young kids here. And Dan, Jay, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, Tim, thank you very much. Both Coach Wooden and Wooten instrumental in the creation and development of this program. This is the 26th McDonald's All-American game. The program started in '77 when a team was announced, but the game, East versus West, began the next year in 1978. A nice ovation for Lavender as he goes to the bench. And this is just the second year where there has been a McDonald's All-American girls game, which preceded us here tonight at the Gund Arena.
And the players would be well served to take heed of the advice of both John Wooden and Morgan Wooten. Both of them speak eloquently every year at the McDonald's All-American Game Banquet and impart some words of wisdom that these players can benefit from greatly.
Well, Jay, you talk about the physical maturity of LeBron James. Maybe the one guy in the game who can match him in that regard in terms of the body he's got is Chris Humphries.
Yeah, Chris Humphries is a really strong player. And I like his versatility. I think both he and Luol Deng are going to be very nice additions to the Duke team next year. And it's hard to believe that Luol Deng, Charlie Villanueva play on the same prep school team. They're able to push each other every day in practice, and I know both those players benefit from that.
James, left hand to lay it in. James now with a 19, and the East leads by 14.
Isn't it amazing how effortlessly he can get 19 points?
Brown with a pretty nice move on the baseline, but he couldn't finish. James leads him up the floor. Feeds it inside, and heading to the line will be Lang. The Players Championship featuring Tiger Woods and so many other. Sports Center is at the Players Championship at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Since its inception in 1974, the Players Championship has set itself apart with a lifetime of unforgettable shots. ESPN with 6 hours of coverage tomorrow and Friday starting at noon Eastern. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Tiger Woods may be the only guy right now that knows about the hype that LeBron James faced this last year. It really was an extraordinary ride for this young man with all the media scrutiny and the media attention he received.
You know what I worry about most about LeBron? It's not his basketball. He's outstanding in every area. But he is not going to be able to go shopping in a mall. He won't be able to go see a movie. A lot of the same problems that Michael Jordan has had. And that isolation can really be a difficult thing to go through.
How about the fact that he'll be a target, Tim, next year? Everybody's going to try. Mike Jones, he's had a terrific game. What an athlete. But how about the attention he's going to receive from opposing players taking their best shot at him every night out?
348 guys are going at him. I can promise you that.
You know, James Lang, even though he fouled on that possession, has had a very nice ball game. He's really rebounded well. And again, the timing, the passing ability, and his ability to see the floor with his peripheral vision. He was setting that play up when he brought it down. And Michael Jones going to Maryland, 6'4", just under 200 pounds. And he's not only a good athlete, he's also a pretty darn good passer. And he's got the ability to shoot the ball from three-point range. He will fit in very nicely at Maryland with that athleticism. Yeah,
so impressed with what Gary Williams does. You know, last year, if you liked Maryland because they were senior dominated and they lose the 3 X's, Wilcox, Baxter, and Dixon. What do? They come back with 4 of their top 5 scorers as upperclassmen.
Yeah, but Gary's going to ruin his reputation by getting McDonald's All-Americans. You know,
that's right.
He builds players that are taken from out of the depths and turns them into terrific college players. He's not going to be able to live this one down.
Michael Jones now with 13. Humphries to Eby. And it's out of bounds. It will stay with the West. Under 5 minutes to play here in Cleveland.
Eby ran into Lang, and all of a sudden it was like a solar eclipse. And the nice pass by Chris Paul, and Jones with plenty of time. We're just talking about his three-point ability, and that is awfully nice rotation on the ball, and that was from just inside of NBA range.
As we try to learn a little bit about these players, and this is the major introduction to America of what the future of college basketball is, Jones is the guy that's really impressed me.
That impress you?
I knew about that before, though.
21 for James, and it was James, by the way, who knocked the ball away. Now James with a block. He's going to take over this game.
Let him go.
Listen to the crowd now.
Buy a ticket next week is what he's thinking.
23 for James. He has stepped up his intensity a notch or 3 in the last couple of minutes. He's going to get it back.
Well, that's the beauty of playing with a player like Chris Paul. You can give it up knowing that you're going to get it back.
Anybody want to finalize their MVP vote now? He just put this one away.
I want to send in my application to the LeBron James fan club.
Shannon Brown challenging Jackie Butler.
Jay, we've heard the comparisons to Tracy McGrady and Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan in high school, but the big difference is that LeBron James already is man size. I don't think he can get any bigger and any stronger. Do you think that maybe impedes some of his development? He's man size playing against kids right now.
Yeah, that may be. I do think, though, the real question is what kind of drive does he have? Will he continue to push to be the best player when he gets to the next level? And I think when you have so much hype and so many accolades coming your way, sometimes it's easy to get satisfied. I don't sense that will happen with LeBron James. I think he does really want to be great. But really, the great ones stand the test of time. It's not about potential or what you do your first few years. It's what you do over the course of a long career. And whether he's got that kind of drive remains to be seen.
Well, don't you look at Michael Jordan, how he evolved. He first learned, beautiful to learn. Michael Jordan, through the tunnel.
That takes between the legs to a new level.
Wow.
And John Wooden always said, never take it between the legs.
Timeout on the floor. LeBron James's moment right here, just up the road from Akron. The fans loving the show that he has put on here in the last couple of minutes. Big time style points for LeBron James here tonight. Half the All-Star, the All-American game in Cleveland. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, threatening to become the highest scorer in the history of this game. Jonathan Bender, 31 points 4 years ago, but again, that was in a 48-minute game. For many, many years, Michael Jordan had held the record.
And don't think that LeBron James is not aware that the record is 31 points held by Jonathan Bender, whether it's 48 or 40 minutes. I think you will see him try to put several more points on the board and have that record be his own in his hometown.
Well, he's got about 3.5 minutes to go. I would imagine he will come out before the very end of the game so he can get the courtesy ovation from the Ohio crowd. You can see again across the bottom of the screen all the players in tonight's game where they have committed to go next year, if indeed they have, and how they have done here tonight as ND shows some range on that jumper.
ND was probably the top player at the Nike campus last summer with the way he performed, and played in Houston at Hal Passner's academy.
Look at this. Tough fadeaway jumper by James over Eby, who continues to work hard at the defensive end. Now he's going to pull up for an NBA range 3.
All the big time recruits that Lute Olson has brought to the desert. Eby is the highest rated, number 3 in the nation.
Yeah, what's funny is Lute Olson has not always been able to get the prime recruit, the top 10, top 5 talent. It's only been in the last few years. And he's been able to get guys like Gilbert Arenas in the past that have blossomed under his coaching, but that were not necessarily highly rated coming out of high school. And one player that is very highly rated headed to the Pac-10 is Leon Poe. And I've really been impressed with his work ethic. He's an outstanding worker, and that will serve him well.
James Lang checks out of the game. 15 points and 10 rebounds for the big guy. Brandon Abbas will come back in. And Poe's also had a terrific game here tonight. Now, we told you it was no coincidence this game was here in Cleveland, so close to Akron, where LeBron James played his high school ball. He wanted to capitalize on his celebrity. They have done that with a record crowd here tonight. Look at this.
He doesn't even have to look to lay it right up next to the rim. And Travis Outlaw, a young man with the athleticism to be able to catch and finish.
Giddens, 27, 28 feet.
You get 4 points for that.
Yeah, plus the passing is great, but these guys hate that rim.
I'll tell you, I'm not sure Roy Williams is going to like Giddens from shooting that far out, but it's awfully nice when you can do it.
James follows his own miss, and he's got 27.
Do you think the referees even thought about calling traveling on that play?
No way.
Not in this town, not tonight.
But a good second effort.
Shannon Brown with an excellent drive to the basket.
I can't even imagine Shannon Brown being in the same backcourt as D. Brown. Just the speed and the athleticism. Shannon Brown reminds me a little bit of a poor man Steve Francis.
James hanging out on the perimeter. Bass doesn't see him, so he knocks down the 15-footer.
Bass is physical. He's explosive. Put him on the same front line with Jaime Ureta. He's going to score some points inside for John Brady.
Kick ball. Well, LeBron James, in spite of the fact he's so close to breaking the scoring record, has not lost his unselfishness at any point in this game.
It's just spectacular, not only to be able to do it, but to do it with the left hand and throw it up there with touch exactly where it needs to be. No rotation on that ball. Easy to catch and easy to finish when you can sky.
A God-given gift or an acquired skill?
A little bit of both. He's been coached and he understands the game. He's played a lot of basketball, and I think he really enjoys passing. And I don't think, you know, he's tried to show a little bit of flair tonight, but usually he makes the right play, and he passes because it's the right play to make, not to show off.
Meanwhile, Shannon Brown with 23 points for the West. Get it.